Okay. Hey, Curtis.
Hey, Oz.
What movie are we watching this week?
This week, we're watching Masters of the Universe meets Frozen, crossed with Swamp Thing, and a healthy dose of Daddy's Home. This week, we're watching The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh my, that is quite the hodgepodge of movie marriages to to produce a fine film like this one.
Yes. I do credit Patreon subscriber Melissa L for helping me with the punchline for this one. Like, I need something with like a father reference. Daddy's Home.
Yeah.
Like that came to you way too fast, but thank you.
Yeah, that's like that. Your movie marriage for this movie is a lot like Matilda and her parents. Like,
yeah,
like Matilda is a fine, very accomplished, and very promising life ahead of her, and then she's got Danny and Rhea as her parents.
Yep.
Oh boy! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme and satisfy the theme with movies that we like to watch and talk about. I am one of your hosts, Oz.
And I am Curtis.
And as you said, we are here this week to wrap up January.
This month went fast, Oz. I don't know about you.
I don't know where it went either. Like, we're recording here on the 20th, and it's already like we're almost 3 weeks into the year already.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up sequels better than the original. And really, another one of those, like we've talked about before, could be splitting hairs on whether you agree with us or not, but Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, A New Hope, great film. Again, kind of like a couple weeks ago with Alien and Aliens. You're splitting hairs there as well. This is just one that always kind of stuck with me just a little bit more. The plot, the characters really came into their own in the Star Wars verse here. That's thus my love for The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, and in some ways, like another movie we could have done this month is like Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Where another Sam Raimi movie. Yep. Where it's like, A New Hope had to spend time establishing characters. And then even more time bringing said characters together. So it's like a movie like this or even Spider-Man 2, like the nonsense is out of the way. Yep. Let's just get going. And that really does open up, it opens the doors to what you could do creatively when you don't have to a lot. But also staying within respective runtime. Sure. Unlike Lord of the Rings, where it's like Peter Jackson's like, we've got time.
Yeah. Going back to Spider-Man, blah, 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 Aunt May, blah, 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 Uncle Ben, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm shot. Oh, no, now we're sad.
Yeah. Oh, I got bit by a spider.
Now we're an hour and 15 minutes into the movie. Yeah.
Right. And you have to do that.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't have to do it. But, to your non-comic book readers, you owe it to them, but at this one, you're right. It's just, it wears itself like, hey, we know we've already, if you're here, it's because you've seen the first one.
Yeah. It trusts that and extends that, I guess that kind of, I don't know what the right word is here, but it extends, I'll just say it extends trust to the audience, that you know who they are.
Right.
It doesn't waste your time doing that. I guess it gives honor to the audience.
Yeah, it's like if you're confused when you're watching this, it's kind of your fault because it's Star Wars. Yeah. Like, if we weren't around when the first one came out. However, it's like this came out. It's like it was still like the biggest thing ever. So. Yeah. If you wander into a movie theater to catch a movie and you're like, Empire Strikes Back, I wonder what this is about. Probably World War II.
Probably.
And then you're seeing these people, like, even in 1980, if you didn't know who Luke Skywalker was, like, it's kind of your fault. Like, you've worked really hard to avoid the entertainment news.
Yeah, that was the zeitgeist.
Oh, by far, for sure. So here we are with Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars Part 2, Episode 5.
Yep. Don't try to make sense of it, folks.
No. George had a vision.
Sure.
And so I've got with it being your movie, I got the cast this week.
Yes.
And
who do we got in this movie, Oz?
Well, despite really I'm looking at my cast list here, and when it comes to importance, despite the size of the Star Wars universe and all of the Kenner action figures one could own.
I was waiting for a Kenner reference.
When it comes to importance, it's really, again, just a handful. You've got the Rebels, and we'll stick with the main guns. You've got Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker, and his buddy slash swashbuckler,
yes.
trusting Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. Their potential love interest, Carrie Fisher as Leia Organa.
Yeah.
That's a race that we find out Han Solo wins by default.
Yes. well, it depends where you live, I guess, or what laws of nature and God you choose to follow.
Tatooine is the Arkansas of the galaxy. Mark Hamill had to duck out of that race. So those are really your
comment below if you're from Arkansas and found that offensive,
or Tatooine and found that offensive.
Either or.
So you got Luke, Han, and Leia as really the big trio of the rebellion. With their sidekicks, of course, being C-3PO and R2-D2, played by Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, and we can't forget Peter Mayhew playing Chewbacca,
of course.
Han's loyal Wookiee friend. And then we've got the bad guys, which is really just James Earl Jones voicing David Prowse acting Darth Vader. I mean, that's the bad guy in this one. You don't have Grand Moff Tarkin, and all those guys that happen to be on the Death Star at the end of the first one. They're not around anymore.
There's some other Empire admirals and generals that pop up. They're kind of faces, but
it's like they're not worth remembering. And then you've got kind of your new entries to this one.
Couple new characters.
You got Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams himself, and you've got Yoda. Of course, everybody knows who Yoda is. Puppeted and voiced by Miss Piggy, Frank Oz. We do have a little bit of Alec Guinness is back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. We also get introduced to Boba Fett, but not really. He's not front and center like he is in the next one. But that's really it. You got a bunch of bounty hunters, you got a bunch of stormtroopers, you got a bunch of pilots for the rebellion. But by and large, the cast members I listed are pretty much the only ones that matter.
For as big as this movie is, in a galaxy far, far away, there's just a handful.
Right, and you do have John Ratzenberger. He's in this too.
Of course he is.
Because it's a Pixar movie.
It's Pixar, so Ratzenberger had to be there.
That's probably why Disney bought Lucasfilms, is because they had John Ratzenberger already, and he's like, hey, there's one movie I was in you don't have the rights to. And they're like, we see you, Mr. Ratzenberger.
And interestingly enough, he was playing Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
I
was wondering why
he was the intergalactic mailman.
Mail call.
Oh, man, it's been years since the mail's been by.
And then he complained about living with his mother for 20 minutes.
Right, yeah. And when he wasn't on screen, he was hanging out at Max Zebo's, where everybody knew his name.
With George Wendt. Max!
Everybody, Ted Danson, Tendon Bar. It was a nice crossover.
It was, It really lent itself well.
It was the B-side to that Christmas special.
I just realized I think unintentionally came full circle on your Matilda reference with Rhea Perlman as well there.
Oh, there we go.
Just like
unintentionally, but
just like we planned.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I do see that in my notes. Make sure you get back to the Matilda reference.
Yes. So. I mean, we script out every line of these episodes.
We said that a couple of weeks ago, and we actually wrote down last week that we would say this week.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I scripted out the line. I scripted out the line. So
right, and I see that you just read the part where you were going to say that, and I read the part where I. So yeah, it's. Anyway, I'm going to get out of the way now and tell us about the plot of The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, the plot of The Empire Strikes Back, Oz. We have the famous Star Wars crawl here at the beginning. It tells us that, yes, the rebels destroyed the Death Star, but they're being hunted by the Imperial fleet that are hiding on the ice planet of Hoth. I always love the after the crawl in the Star Wars movies, it cuts to something in space, and usually, like a Star Destroyer or something like that, and that's what you do in this one. You see it like Star Destroyers right there. It lets you know front and center, like the Empire's mad about what happened canonically 3 years ago, in A New Hope. This is set three, I don't know, astro years.
Right, yeah. Light year.
There
light
you
years,
go.
I think. 3 light years later.
3 light years later. So
I'd be upset too if someone destroyed my garage. Like, where do they park a Star Destroyer?
I think you got to rent space someplace. It's like
where do they? It's like where do they build them?
The fairgrounds.
Right. In the garage. Like, duh. Detroit, yeah. I mean, it's the Motor City. I mean, it makes sense to me. If you're going to build a Death Star in the United States, it's going to be in Detroit. Yeah, because I think they are American made. They don't seem to be. I don't think these are foreign Death Stars. These are German Death Stars.
No, I thought I saw a Made in America sticker on it.
Right. There's a baby on board on one of them, I
saw. My student is an honor roll at the Imperial Academy.
Right. Yeah. Student driver.
Yeah. Driving the Death Star. Right. Now put your blinker on.
Yeah, you need a CDL for that.
Yeah. I would think at least a CDL.
Probably 2 of them.
So on Hoth, the ice planet, where the rebels are hiding out, Luke checks it with Han. They're riding tauntauns, Oz. How would you describe a tauntaun?
A stop motion, like I would say like a kangaroo meets yak meets seahorse somewhere.
Sure, a bipedal, yes. Because they're on 2 legs. But
they're very riding, Harryhausen.
Yes, they're riding these large mammals around. I guess they're very hardy creatures riding around this ice planet of Hoth. Luke tells Han, I'm going to check in on this downed meteorite. So you go on back to base, buddy. I'll see you back there. Just as soon as Han leaves, Luke is knocked out by a snow monster, by Bumble.
Exactly. I thought it was the guy, that said, "Welcome to the Himalayas" and Monsters Inc. It was that indomitable snowman.
It was that guy, yeah. So
I think you're right. Yeah. It was Bumble.
It was Bumble. Yes. Oh, Han's back at base, checks in with Chewie. Chewie's working on the Falcon. The Millennium Falcon's not in great shape. Chewie decided to take it apart while Han was out, and I have a feeling that's not going to come up as a plot point throughout this entire movie here. Yeah.
No.
Leia is giving some mad side eye to Han throughout all of this. I know these aren't the biggest of plot points, but I feel obligated to kind of mention some of the stuff early on because I really think it kind of lays the track for where the characters go in this movie. So she's giving him the side eye. He picks up on it. He says, "I gotta leave. I got a bounty on my head. I'm a dead man if I don't go take care of this." And Han kind of looks at Leia because she is just kind of staring back at him. He says, "Don't get all mushy on me. So long." And of course she follows him. "We need you."
Right.
"Oh, why don't you just admit it? You have feelings for me." So I really enjoy how they jump right into that and how it's really obvious and it kind of and that plays into Han's character. He's very obvious about everything he does.
Oh, yeah. There's no secrets to him. Like, he's your prototypical, quote-unquote, guy. Like, I'm not playing games. I'm going to tell you what's on my mind. And I'm probably going to be a little condescending and egotistical about it, too.
I know you like me. I'm calling BS on you when you say you don't. Yeah. 3PO tells Han, Luke hasn't checked in, and nobody knows where he is. So Han gets on his tauntaun, goes back out to look for him, despite the fact that he's told, your tauntaun's probably going to freeze to death within minutes, right? Cut to Luke back in in Bumble's cave. Uh, as he's devouring the tauntaun, Luke is...
Bumbles is no vegetarian.
He's a carnivore. I think he's tearing into reindeer when nobody's looking. So Luke is suspended by his feet. Somehow the Bumble got him affixed to the ceiling of his cave. So I don't know if he's got like a warm water pail or something, and he just splashed Luke's feet and stuck him up there.
He's got ice breath, I think.
Regardless,
it's the only thing that makes it. But I've wondered that too, because like, how'd you get him to hang upside down? Like, because that water, unless it freezes instantaneously, is going to drip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe Bumble's a chemist also. Who knows? Maybe
it's really the entrance to a funhouse, and he has it's like a rotating barrel.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Froze him to the ground, and then the big wheel spun it.
Yeah, it's like how they shot parts of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
probably it's only an ice cave.
Yeah.
Superhuman strength, this Wampa.
Yeah. So Luke uses the Force. He actively uses the Force for the first time, whereas he
almost seemed irritated by it. Like he's reaching for it with his hand and he can't. And granted, I know he's upside down, so it looked like he was rolling his eyes, but it almost seemed like, fine. I'll use my mind.
I'll use telekinesis. I'll use space. Fine. I'll use space magic to free my lightsaber.
Right. Okay, I'll listen to the midichlorians and I'll use it.
So he gets his lightsaber, frees himself, chops off Bumble's arm. Oh, right. And then runs out of the shelter that's keeping him warm.
And naturally, Offset, I feel like they did all of this because Mark Hamill got in a car wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he had isn't that true? Like he had scarring on his face or something.
I don't know. I didn't read that. I don't recall that, but I mean, it sounds plausible.
You talk. I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, as you're looking that up, Luke is having visions, and basically he passes out from the cold of the blizzard. He's on the brink of death, and lo and behold, Han comes across him. Han's tauntaun dies right there. And Han knows that Luke's not going to make it unless I can figure out a way to warm him up. So he takes Luke's lightsaber, cuts open the belly of his freshly dead tauntaun, and shoves Luke inside the tauntaun.
Right.
Using his warm innards to heat his friend back up.
It was, yeah. Mark Hamill was in a car accident after A New Hope had filmed, but before it debuted.
Okay.
So it wasn't news at the time, but it altered the way his face looked, and they had to write something in to
explain the scarring
explain the scarring, which would have been the Wampa attack.
Okay.
At the beginning of this movie.
All right. Well, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
So back at the base, they got Luke recovering in a Bacta tank. I wish I had a Bacta tank, guys. Those things are sweet. It's like a healing science tube. You submerge somebody in there, and there's little things that heal you, basically.
Well, before we get too much further, I do want to give a shout out to Patreon subscribers: Don S, Melissa L.
Yeah, them.
I switched over to my character list, and so Don S, Melissa L, Aaron A, and Mandy K. Sorry we waited this long, but keep subscribing so that we can purchase. We can purchase these tanks that we so badly want.
Your Patreon money will buy me my own Bacta tank.
Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, if you want to come over and use it, you're more than welcome to.
I really hope those four are still listening 19 minutes into this episode.
I know. I'm sure they've all tuned out right now. I haven't heard my name within the first 4 minutes.
I'm pulling all of my subscription
all my Patreon money's gone, leaving you in the dark.
Love you guys.
We love our Patreons.
We do.
Yes. So Luke gets out of the Bacta tank, Han's giving Leia a hard time again. You don't want me to leave, blah blah blah. We get one of those lines where she gets mad at him and calls him a half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder. And Han has a clever comeback here. Hey, who's scruffy looking?
Right. Might as well call him a cotton-headed ninny muggins.
There you go. Continuing with our North Pole references there.
Right, well, that's where we're at.
Then the narwhal showed up.
Yeah.
I hope you find your dad. As I say that out loud, that actually kind of works with it.
Right. And it doesn't matter if they're saying it to Luke or Leia.
Yeah. Bye, buddy.
Hope you find your dad.
I should have just used Elf as my movie marriage. That's it. Just today, this week's movie is Elf combined with
Elf. Yeah. We filmed this at the Hoth Pole.
Yeah. Leia then kisses Luke, guys. And at this point, we're 3 years away from Return of the Jedi. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Of Return of the Jedi coming out, revealing that Luke and Leia are not only biological siblings, but also twins. So,
I will give Leia a ton of credit, though, because as chauvinistic as Han has been, still, this is 3 years since A New Hope. So it's easy to believe that if he's been around for 3 years, clearly, because he's just now talking about leaving. So he's had this full court press on for 3 years. And she still just dishes it out.
Yep.
But at the same time, falling under that Hollywood trap of, I do care for him. I really do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to kiss my brother just to show him that I don't.
Yeah. Han and Chewie go back out to where this meteorite was to examine things, and it's an Imperial probe droid that was deployed. They sent out dozens of these across the galaxy trying to find where the rebels are. They accidentally set it off, alerting the Empire to their location. We then get the Imperial March playing. Oh, one of the best pieces of score in film history. That plays as we see Vader on his Super Star Destroyer, their fleet of masses, and he orders Admiral Ozzel. That's where we're going. They're on Hoth. The rebels begin to evacuate as the fleet arrives. Vader, again, another hint. This movie is a little darker than A New Hope.
Yeah.
Admiral Ozzel, who's in charge of their fleet, came at a light speed a little too close to Hoth, alerting them to their presence and allowing the rebels to get their electromagnetic shield up so that the Empire can't bombard them. They have to come at them from the ground. Vader didn't like that, Oz. And so, despite the fact that Vader and Ozzel were on different ships, Darth Vader uses the Force to choke out Admiral Ozzel.
Yeah. Force chokes him from a ways off.
Yes, from a ways.
You almost wonder, why didn't Vader then just, force choke the rebellion?
Well, he did have... I don't know. Ozzel was on screen. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he's
got to have a little. He's got to have a little Nightcrawler-esque.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Nightcrawler, he's got to see where he's going, otherwise he'll just teleport into a wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Vader's the same way.
He's got to see where he's going.
I can't choke you.
Yeah. The rebels use a gigantic ion cannon, which disables the electronics in the Imperial ships to clear a way for the transports. Luke then jumps in a snowspeeder with his co-pilot Dak, and Dak gives those great words. I feel like I could take on the whole Empire by myself.
Right. Look at my new red shirt.
Nothing bad's gonna happen today.
Oh boy, this has been the greatest day. Let's go, Luke.
So Dak dies.
I feel like my fortune's really turning around.
So a fun sequence here is the snowspeeders attack these giant AT-ATs, which are basically like tanks with legs.
Yeah, they're giant. They're just giant mechanical camels.
Yes,
just huge.
who are walking across the snow towards the rebel base, and these little, dinky snow speeders are trying to at least slow them down or something. And there's a couple fun sequences in here. Wedge, one of the other pilots for the rebellion, he uses he and his co-pilot use a tow cable to basically tie up the legs of this thing, causing it to fall down. Because otherwise, like, these snow speeders are basically useless against these. The AT-ATs. Luke's ship gets shot down. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, this is also a really fun level in Lego Star Wars. Like,
is it?
Oh, it really is. Yeah. It's a lot of fun because you're in a snow speeder and you have to tie up the legs of several, and then et cetera, et cetera. But it's a fun level.
Never played Lego Star Wars, but
you'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I just need to take the time for it. Luke's snow speeder gets taken out. Dak had already been kind of knocked out or killed or whatever. Like a stray shot kind of got him. He can't get Dak's body out, so Dak gets squished. Jumping ahead just a little bit, the Empire knocks out their power source. They storm the base, and the rebels, they give their full evacuation. So Luke jumps in an X-wing, and he takes off towards the Dagobah system. So he and R2-D2, because as he was passing out earlier from the cold, he got a vision from Obi-Wan telling him, hey, you got to go to the Dagobah system. In the meantime, though, Leia is among the last of the rebellion leaders to leave, and Han basically throws her in the Millennium Falcon. So Han, Chewie, Leia, and 3PO jump in the Millennium Falcon and escape just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
The Falcon is pursued by the Empire. They fly straight into this barricade, and they have the blockade, I should say, that they've amassed around the planet. And the hyperdrive's not working on it. That's not good.
Yeah, Chewie hasn't gotten back to that yet.
Yeah. Hyperdrive's not working. Han, the only thing he can do, if he flies into an asteroid field to try to put something between him and the Empire. And we get the first utterance of C-3PO telling him the odds of successfully navigating an asteroid field. I
Quite the statistician. Yeah, I do too. Because he can't help himself. He's just a walking computer.
That's what he does. Never tell me the odds. So they evade the TIE fighters, and they end up hiding the Millennium Falcon, their small cargo ship, inside basically a cave on one of the larger asteroids. In the meantime, Luke arrives on Dagobah in his X-wing. They show up, comes across a creature who identifies himself as Yoda. Says, "Yeah, I know who Yoda is." In the meantime, Yoda's kind of I don't know. What how would you describe Yoda early on when Luke first meets him?
Just childish. Just sure. Feigning ignorance.
Sure.
Just kind of dumb, and of course, we know that he's playing it off. Well, we've seen it enough, of course.
Yeah.
But just he's really inquisitive. I mean, he's just like a toddler, really. Yeah. Ton of questions, not a lot of focus, not being overly serious, just being irritating, really, but not like Jar Jar Binks level irritating. He's just being an annoyance.
Yeah, he's kind of feeling Luke out. He's kind of a scamp. He's intentionally kind of pushing some of Luke's buttons.
Yeah, testing his patience. And
back on the Falcon, let's see, they continue to work on the hyperdrive. And Han helps. Leia's fixing something, and there's a fun little sequence between the two of them. And she just turns towards him. It's like, you make things so difficult sometimes. He's like, yeah, I really do. Like, you like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life. And they almost go to kiss us.
Almost.
But C-3PO walks in.
Yeah. Whispering it right in each other's mouths.
Mm-hmm. He was about to round first.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Thought he laid that butt down solid, but
nope.
A little too much on it.
Yeah, third base, we got a good grip on it through about.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. On the Super Star Destroyer, we get a fun little scene here. Vader communicates with Palpatine. The first time we see Palpatine. This movie I think the version, I have a feeling the version you watched as well as the one I did was the latest special edition.
Yeah.
I know, A New Hope had some special edition add-ins that have been pretty universally panned. And the same with Return of the Jedi as well. For the most part, I like the improvements made to the Empire because they're more subtle than some of the others. Like they cleaned up some of the black lines around the speeders on Hoth. They added in a couple seconds here and there of some footage. They put Ian McDiarmid back in as the Emperor as opposed to the original actor who played him, just for continuity purposes. And I liked it. I thought that for the most part, the additions worked in this movie.
Right. Yeah. They were cleaning up things that they just fixing. Well, I won't say fixing plot holes, but they're just fixing some errors.
Yeah. Some things that the technology couldn't do at the time,
Yeah, they weren't trying to enhance anything. They were just.
I get it if they're subtle. Like I don't mind the things they did here.
No, I don't either.
So we see Palpatine for the first time. We understand, he is Vader's master, and they start talking about Luke, and Palpatine's like, this boy, he could destroy us. The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. So if you're really paying attention, they're kind of seeding some things in there.
Yeah.
Vader argues, let's not kill him, let's turn him.
Yeah.
And Palpatine's like, yeah, you do that.
You go right ahead.
You go get on that.
Go get it, DV. Do you think he called him DV?
I think he did. I think he did all the time.
Yeah. They called each other EP and DV.
To save time.
Yeah.
The Sith are very efficient.
Yeah. Ernest Palpatine.
Ernest Palpatine.
Dartholomew. Dartholomew Vader. Ernest Palpatine.
I like that. Dartholomew. It's like Spaceballs. What's your name? Barf. Your full name? Bartholomew.
Bartholomew. He's so proud of it.
Are you the one who's getting married? No. Get out of the way. Bartholomew. Oh, back in Dagobah, they're in Yoda's home, and Yoda has revealed himself as he is the Yoda. He is the guy that
he hasn't revealed himself. He hasn't revealed himself to Luke yet, as much as Luke overhears him talking to Obi-Wan's ghost.
Yeah.
I'll help this one. I can't. What?
Yeah, and so finally, Luke's like, "Oh, you're the guy I'm looking for." And I think you kind of get, at least this is the impression I get out of it. Yoda's still kind of testing Luke here because he's kind of like he's telling Force Ghost Obi-Wan like he's too old, I can't train him. He's too impatient, I can't train him. Nope. Got too much of his father in him. Can't train him.
Yeah. Next.
And then we get the old Luke says I'm not afraid. Oh, you will be.
You will be.
You will be.
Mostly. I do enjoy seeing that line come out of a puppet's mouth more than I do CGI.
I like the
just because it's too, right, because it's meant to be menacing and somewhat emotionless in its delivery, and it's coming from a puppet, which of course is emotionless. So they just let the mouth move and let him just stare off into whatever. It's like, I don't know. It is. But yeah, we saw a touch of like whiny Tatooine Luke too. Yeah. Tashi Station Luke. I'm not too old. I can do this.
These puppets don't have natural emotion as opposed to the puppets from Check It Out with Dr. Steve.
Right. Those puppets were scary.
Yeah, they were.
Puppets. He's afraid of puppets. Oh, man.
For all of the Steve Brule fans out there who catch that reference and who immediately just turned off, who hit stop on the other podcast.
We should we could do a bonus episode of a Steve Brule episode.
We could. Oh, we could cover a Steve Brule episode. Oh, I'm usually in tears after those.
Oh, I am too.
So back on the Falcon, Leia notices there's a creature outside the ship. They're in the vacuum of space, yet there's a
Right.
creature out there because it's a movie and it's fiction.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's chewed at the power cables. We got to go clear it out. So they exit the Falcon wearing these like tiny little respirators, which I think I'm probably going to come back to later. Wink, wink. And Han notices this cave, despite the fact that we're in deep space, is pretty moist and damp.
Right.
So he takes his blaster, just shoots it into the ground, and immediately everything starts rumbling. So they run back inside the ship and take off. They're like, the Empire's still out there. We got bigger issues right now.
Yeah.
It turns out when they flew inside this cave in this big asteroid, they accidentally flew into the mouth of a gigantic, well, I don't know, worm-like creature.
Sandworm, yeah.
Sure.
It's now clearly we can't do this as a monthly theme, but if we did a month of sandworms, we could have done Dune, Beetlejuice, Empire Strikes Back, and Tremors.
Yeah, we could have filled up a whole month.
But now that we've covered Empire Strikes Back, there goes our sandworm month.
We could come up with something else. There's got to be something else with sandworms out there.
If we put it further enough in the future. Well, there is, because I have another one in mind. But anyway, go ahead.
So they get out of there, and again are immediately re-pursued by the Empire. Admiral Piet tells Vader, "We found them." Again, the Falcon's getting chased again by a Star Destroyer. Hyperdrive fails again. They lose their rear deflector shield, so the only thing they can do is attack the Star Destroyer, which is 100 times the size.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna go well.
So they move into attack position and they buzz the tower of the Star Destroyer and immediately fall off the scopes of the Empire. Like where could they have gone?
I don't know, but they lost the beeps, the bleeps, and the creeps.
The what?
Can't find them.
So within seconds, the captain of this ship was like, "Well, I'll take responsibility. I'll go tell Vader." Cut to him being choked out as well.
Why not?
Yeah, I wonder how many like admirals and captains Vader goes through on a weekly basis.
The whole fleet of them.
Yeah, lay them head to toe to head. We gotta stack them. We gotta make a room for next week's.
Yeah, bring on the admirals. Who are our new cadets?
We also have like that fun little bounty hunter sequence. As
it was cool.
Vader's meeting with the bounty hunters, basically like half of Kenner's toy line right there.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of back scratching going on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell you what, we'll introduce more cool characters so you can make more cool toys.
Yeah. Oh, IG-88. He'd be a cool action figure.
Who wouldn't want Bosk?
Yeah. So it turns out, Oz, that Han, being the crafty pilot he is, after they buzzed the tower, he somehow threw on the brakes, and basically I don't know if this is quite the right word, but like docked the ship against the side of the Star Destroyer.
Right.
So they're physically clamped onto it. Apparently they can't. Nobody else can see them physically, like eyeball them, but they're not on their scopes because they're not moving.
Right.
And so they literally cling there for a while.
It's a pretty smart move.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back on Dagobah, as we kind of jump back and forth here between Han and Leia and Luke. Luke's training. He's training with Yoda. He's got the Yoda backpack on. He's doing he's doing some sweet front flips.
It's I cannot watch this scene without thinking of the Seagull song.
I know the same. I started humming it in my head.
I know, you just can't.
For those unfamiliar, next time you got a moment, go on YouTube and search for what would we search for? Like just Star Wars seagulls.
Yeah, just bad lip reading seagulls.
Yes, bad lip reading. That's right. That's the YouTube channel, and they made up an entire song around the scene. Just a nonsense song, but it's hysterical.
And it's catchy.
Oh, it's
but of course
super catchy.
yeah, those guys over there are geniuses. Like the amount of time that they have to watch those videos just to figure out what they think they're saying. You know, it's so fun. But yeah, it's a very catchy song.
Yeah, and clever editing. Yeah. Treat yourself to 3.5 minutes. Yeah, bad lip reading, seagulls. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go now though. Finish what you're doing now, listening to us, and then go.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, after you're done, watch us on YouTube after you listen to the podcast.
Right.
Then,
because then then
listen to our podcast again. Then search for Seagull Star Wars bad lip reading on YouTube.
There you go.
So after he's doing his front flips and his Yoda backpack and sprinting around the swamp, takes a breather and Luke's like, "Hey, what's over there?" Yoda says to him, "That area, that spot's it's filled with the dark side. You don't want to go in there." So of course Luke goes because Luke is incredibly impetuous.
He pulls a Dewey Cox and I think I do.
I think I do. You don't want none of that, Luke.
Right. There's the dark side. Tim Meadows is the voice of Yoda.
Yes, Tim Meadows is Yoda. You don't want none of this stuff, Luke. Before Luke trains, he has to remember his entire life story.
He just perched up next to a mossy tree with his hand up.
So Luke goes into this area that's, thick with the dark side, and basically in walks Vader, or at least what we think is Vader. And they have a brief little lightsaber duel. And Luke beheads Vader. Again, kind of a dark moment here. I remember this scene always bothered me when I was a kid. The head, so Vader's head literally rolls on the ground and the faceplate explodes, exposing Luke's face underneath the Vader faceplate. I don't know, when you were a kid, how did you respond to this scene? What did it bother you? Were you just like, whatever?
I don't really recall. I obviously have seen this movie numerous times, but I could see it probably bothering me. Not so much the beheading as much as it being Luke's head in the helmet. I watched a lot of horror movies growing up.
That's true. So. Yeah, you were basically raised on that genre.
Yeah,
I was raised on comedies.
Right, so I'm like, there's no blood. That beheading's fake.
There's more blood when Bumble was fighting them.
Right, exactly. Wampa had more blood than DV.
Dartholomew Vader.
Dartholomew Vader.
So just continuing with the Luke stuff for a moment. Another little training sequence. He's stacking rocks while he's upside down and levitating Yoda. And then he sees a vision. He has a vision. Of course, we don't see it, but he just panics, drops everything, including Yoda and R2. And he has a vision of Leia and Han suffering in a city in the clouds. And he's like, I got to go to them. I got to rescue them. And Force Ghost Obi-Wan shows up, and both Yoda and Obi-Wan are like, you can't go. You got to finish your training. You can't face Vader. You're not there yet. But he
Luke's
goes.
Like, yeah, I am.
That's what he does.
I'm good.
I'm gonna go help my buddy and my girlfriend sister.
I feel like this like Yoda with the Rock training is a lot like Miyagi teaching Daniel karate by having him like wax cars and stuff. Like, it's like you could stack these rocks while standing on one hand and levitating your robot. You clearly are ready for a sword fight. Like,
well, and there is that infamous scene in Return of the Jedi when they're fighting on the second Death Star and the Luke starts stacking rocks.
Right, he does a one-handed handstand and he starts levitating all the droids around.
Yeah, he's levitating the droids. He's fighting Vader. He's stacking rocks.
Really confuses Vader, by the way. It buys him an instant as Vader scratches his helmet wondering what's going on.
What in the world?
Gotcha.
Got me with the old rock stacking trick.
Oh, no, you've been to Yoda. I know that trick.
Yoda pulled that one on me before. I should have seen that one.
That's from the Yoda dojo of the Force. I know that one.
So back on the Falcon, they've outwitted the Empire, and they're basically just still clinging to the Star Destroyer, and they
yeah.
And they notice they're they're starting to break up the fleet. All right, well when they do that, they always dump their garbage before they jump to light speed, and so they dump their garbage. Han detaches the Falcon, and they just float away in the garbage.
Right.
Little do they know that Boba Fett, one of the bounty hunters, was hiding in the garbage, and
right.
it starts to trail them. They also in the meantime had figured out that we got to go someplace and like just rest up, refuel, get our wits about us, and so Han figures out we're gonna go to a city called Bespin, find my old buddy Lando. He'll take us in.
We're tight.
Mm-hmm. So they approach Bespin in the Falcon. They're given permission to land. Lando greets him. Initially, you think Lando's got something against him because it was revealed that Lando and Han have some history, and it wasn't always good. So Han's kind of rolling the dice here, but Lando welcomes him in, very welcoming, as Leia points out. So they're walking along. Lando's just kind of giving him the lay of the land. Han's giving him a hard time because, like you sound like an actual businessman now. 3PO wanders into another room and gets shot and blown apart.
Yeah, blasted up.
And you don't see what happened. He startled someone. So they... let me see. I just lost my place here. Pardon me for a second.
That's all right.
So basically, just cutting ahead. Lando comes back a little while later, brings them in for some refreshments. Chewie, Han, and Leia. Turns out Vader has been there the whole time.
Which I thought was funny because he was sitting at the table, just waiting.
Yeah.
Like, when the door opens, he rises like he had just finished his cookies.
He has his napkin tucked into his shirt. Should try these Nilla wafers. They really hit the spot.
That was a good snickerdoodle, Lando.
This charcuterie tray is amazing. Try the relish dip. It's like a Wisconsin supper club.
Right. It's like, I just wonder how long was Vader sitting there waiting?
Just for his moment to surprise him. He probably was in there for like a good couple hours. Feet up on the table. He's playing
word search,
playing Angry Birds on his phone,
like Angry Birds Star Wars edition.
Yeah,
real meta.
So they see him there, and Han, to his credit, he doesn't panic. He pulls his gun.
No.
And just starts firing at Vader, but of course Vader's got that thing called the Force. He deflects the shots from Han's gun, and then uses the Force to pull Han's gun away from him. So they're captured now. They go to they torture Han. They torture Leia. They don't even ask him any questions. They just torture him for the sake of torturing him. Right. Chewie does eventually find 3PO. So in the meantime, he's just kind of putting 3PO back together. Vader ends up telling Boba Fett, we're gonna put Solo in carbonite because I need to test it on somebody. Because once Luke arrives, because he knows Luke's coming, we're gonna freeze Luke and then I'll bring him to the Emperor. But we're gonna test it on Solo. And Lando's like, this wasn't part of the deal. I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah, you can have Leia and the Wookiee. I'll, and they're like, ugh. Yeah. And then alters that deal.
Yeah. So it turns out this whole thing was basically Vader's using them as bait to lure Luke there. So Lando tells them that Vader's really after Skywalker. Han punches Lando, and things aren't going well there. The heroes are down on their luck, Oz.
Yep.
So we cut to the carbonite freezing chamber, and Chewie starts throwing a fit. His best friend's about to be possibly killed because they don't know if it's going to work or not.
Right. Yeah. In theory, it should. But...
Yes, it should, but they don't know for sure. And so Han looks over at Leia, and just Leia says, "Hey, I love you." And Han, in one of the greatest, I don't, maybe response lines in film history, just looks at her and says, "I know,
I know you do. Known it all along."
It's kind of like told ya.
I knew it. I knew if there was enough peril, you'd admit your feelings for me.
Yep. Too bad you didn't do it back at Hoth. You kissed your brother instead.
Right. It's true, yeah. Last lips you tasted were your own, kind of.
Your own genes. So they throw Han in the carbonite thing and they freeze him. He survives. He basically is now frozen in just a big slab of carbonite, basically.
And another marketable item for Kenner.
Yep, there you go. He's frozen in a 1995 toy.
Yeah. Han Carbonite Han. Oh, I can't wait to get that action figure.
At the low price. Yeah, $19.95. Luke lands. So he lands in his X-Wing, starts making his way through Bespin, briefly comes across Leia, who yells, "It's a trap!" Not quite as Admiral Akbar-esque, but
yeah, she didn't even have her Admiral Akbar mask on this time.
That was her the whole time.
It was.
Well, at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, she's disguised, so maybe she also just doubles as Admiral Akbar.
Well, it wasn't so much that it was Leia as much as it was Carrie Fisher. It was an independent film, so they were short on. They didn't have the backing of major Hollywood budget. Yep.
So Carrie, we need
everybody's got to
everybody's got to pitch in. Carrie, put on this fish head. Pretend you're an admiral.
Harrison Ford was a carpenter on set. You know how it goes.
So Lando kind of rallies his troops. They free Chewie, Leia, and 3PO. They go after Han. They almost get him, but Boba Fett flies away at his ship. Just out of reach when they get there. They do come across R2 as well, so at least they're reunited with R2, who had come with Luke. They engage in a firefight with the stormtroopers. Lando gets on the PA, tells everybody, "Hey, the Empire's here. You got to get out. You got to get to stepping."
Yeah. Get out of Cloud City.
So they make their way to the Falcon and take off and escape, thinking the hyperdrive is fixed because Lando had his best people working on it, so supposedly it's been fixed. In the meantime, we get kind of the penultimate scene in the movie here, Oz. Luke finds his way into this chamber that has the carbonite freezing mechanism, and we see Vader in the movie poster shot, the trailer shot.
Oh, yeah.
Backlit Vader standing on top of this platform. The Force is strong with you, but you are not a Jedi yet. And they get into a pretty sweet lightsaber battle here. Oz.
It was much more climatic than Vader and Kenobi.
And old man Alec Guinness, yeah.
Right.
So Vader basically backs Luke into this carbonite chamber all too easy. Flips the switch.
Yeah.
However, we see the first instance of a Force jump here.
I know. I remember not liking it when I was a kid because it was so I really didn't understand all the nuances of Star Wars because it was like it just was irritating because he can't jump that. It just wasn't realistic. But of course now it's so sweet because he's harnessing that extra Force power. Yeah,
and now you see Qui-Gon and young Obi-Wan making 50-foot leaps in Episode 1.
Yeah.
But so he gets out of there. They keep fighting. Luke, let's see. They end up. Luke kind of scurries away from him, and they end up in just a different area closer. They're kind of a long hallway, and Vader just starts showing his dominance over him. He starts using the Force to just kind of just throw different objects at Luke. Just kind of literally batters him, throws him off his game. Luke ends up kind of crashing through a window into this I don't know what you'd call it, like a platform and off like a deep pit. Basically, it's kind of in the middle of the whole structure there.
Right, it's big space pit kind of thing.
Space pit. And so they're fighting on the platform. They're still lightsaber dueling. Luke gets a little shot at on Vader. He catches him in the shoulder, Not enough to do any major damage, but it catches Vader's attention. He lets out a roar, and he lops off Luke's arm.
Yeah.
Cuts it off. Or his hand. Yes, so cuts it off at the wrist, the hand that he was holding the lightsaber in. Cauterizes the wound because apparently those lightsabers, just do that. So
they get pretty hot.
So Luke is basically defenseless at this point, and like I'm not joining you. And then as we get that moment in cinema history here, because
the one that everybody misquotes.
Yes, that everyone misquotes, because Luke had been told that Vader killed his father.
Right.
And Luke says this, "You killed my father." And then Vader simply replies with, "No." Sticks and stones. No, I am your father. Luke gives a reaction. Just kind of, it gets kind of whiny. Although I shouldn't blame him. He just lost.
Well, yeah, and just found his dad.
Just found his dad. Yeah.
Who was the one that cut off his hand?
Yeah.
little bittersweet memories here. A little conflicting. But yeah, and then like the Vader just drops it. I'm like, search inside. You know it's true, because I almost put it as as like. Before I got to this point of the movie, I was thinking about my husband. I almost put that in there. Like, why would Luke just believe him?
Yeah.
You know? But then they cover that track with Vader, like, search your feelings. It's true.
And Luke just pauses just for a beat and just realizes it and just starts screaming no, even though he knows it's true. Right. Vader invites him to join him. Let's rule the galaxy, his father and the son. And Luke just throws himself down this pit.
Right.
Just throws himself off. Ends up basically kind of sliding through a chamber door, and ends up out. I
think it was the same exhaust system that Newt was sliding around in.
Was
Aliens.
It? Yeah,
I think so. And coincidentally, they used for the Running Man. Hollywood gets a lot of use out of that.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They do get a lot of use out of that. Luke also stops to flirt with Hicks too while he's there.
Right, he did. Yeah. Not his type, as he found out.
Not quite. But
I'm not into guys that kiss their sisters.
As Hicks says that to Luke, because Hicks is the one rejecting Luke in that dynamic.
Game over, Luke. Game over. So my friend Hudson heard. That's what he said.
So Luke ends up outside the complex, apparently in the underside of this cloud city, this city that's just suspended, literally in the clouds. Yeah. He ends up on like an antenna, for the lack of a better way of putting it, that's just sticking out the bottom, just hanging there. And we cut back to Leia and Lando and 3PO and Chewie and R2 flying away in the Falcon, and the camera just kind of lingers on Leia, and she's like, "I know where Luke is. You gotta go back."
He's calling for her.
Yeah. And so they turn around and go back. And they find him underneath. They pick him up. They got him in the Falcon. They take off. They're getting chased by TIE fighters. They make it back out of the atmosphere into space, go to jump to hyperspace to escape, and it fails again. Again. Just, yeah, I do love the sound of the hyperdrive.
Oh yeah,
failing.
It's just, it just sounds like something failing. Like that's the sound.
If we ever start a game show, that's going to be our fail noise. Is the hyperdrive? Hyperdrive
stalling.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Disney won't care.
So they're moments from being captured in the tractor beam of the Star Destroyers there, and R2 basically fixes it. R2 does his R2 magic.
Yeah, that's what R2 does.
Yeah, like taps two wires together, and they're off. They're in hyperspace.
Well, he does have a lighter as a tool, so we shouldn't underestimate what he can accomplish.
like a Bic lighter.
Yeah.
So basically, then we cut to a medical frigate that's back in the Rebel fleet, and Luke has now been given a robot hand. So he's part cyborg at this point. Lando and Chewie are shown leaving in the Falcon to go after Han, while the droids and Luke and Leia just kind of stand in a window of the ship and watch them go. And that, folks, is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. What a movie, Oz. What a movie.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
At this point in the show, folks, Oz and I each give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about. In this case, the Irving Kershner-helmed The Empire Strikes Back. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this 10 Wampa arms.
Oh,
that's what it gets from me.
Poor Bumble.
I know. Poor guy. How about you?
Similarly, I'm going to go with 97 disemboweled tauntauns.
Well, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. I thought
that's part of the movie took place on that ice planet.
Yep. I do really like the Hoth stuff.
And I do too.
And I thought,
I really,
especially with the technology they had to film that, like, it wasn't exactly like a dogfight, but like the sequence with like the speeders and like to do that against a white background, because you can get away with a lot of stuff in space with the dark background. But yeah, so kudos to the technical efforts that went into that.
Right.
Next up, folks, we got our next segment, Outside in Sight. Oz and I have been scouring the interwebs, looking for unprofessional reviews that people leave on various media sites. Reviews that we find funny, and we will now share a couple of those with you.
Exactly.
Oz, what is your Outside in Sight?
Mine is a half-star review by Dunn Baxter, dropped on December 20th of 2022. And it's very confusing and conflicting. I've been watching this crap for so long. You could burn any evidence of this movie ever existing, and I would not care.
Okay.
So why have you been rewatching it but don't care? Now here's my favorite part. I told you this a little bit in the pre-show. Now here's a letter to anyone who actually cares about Star Wars. It's a little lengthy, but I'm going to go quick.
Okay.
As a young Star Wars fan, I never would have imagined the day where I say I hate the originals. The fact of the matter is, I've been imagining my own vision for the franchise for so long that I'm now beginning to transcend even the original lore. Here he goes. My own Star Wars universe is just Ben Quadenarios as the lead role, and they ripped the plot from Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Immediately following that film is a trilogy of Kurosawa-inspired Star Wars films following the lives of Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. After that, there is one Pixar animated film which takes a microscopic view of the universe, similar to A Bug's Life. To finish everything off is a lengthy Italian trilogy covering the Amidala crime family from the eyes of Padme Amidala, who's training her daughter to run the family business, when suddenly Leia is assassinated. Now her son, Luke, who is only a moisture farmer, has to learn the ways of the Force to avenge his sister's death. In doing so, he becomes the villain he once hated to see. You can call this stupid or insane, but when you enjoy something like Star Wars for almost 2 decades, it becomes a part of your imagination more than a story you truly care about. George Lucas did not have the tech to make everything he imagined in the 80s, and his fan base has discouraged his ambition before he could make a final trilogy. By then, he sold everything I wanted to see from him and left it to fly in the wind. Somewhere is in the middle of all that lies The Phantom Menace, which is the only film where George Lucas was free as an artist.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I got a feeling that this guy, as he was writing this and laying out his fan fiction version of the Star Wars universe was like, man, if I just put this review out there into the ether, some studio executive at Lucasfilm is going to read this. I'm going to get my 9-picture deal here.
That's right. They're going to want to see what Star Wars mixed with Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift looks like.
Crossed with a lengthy Italian trilogy.
Covering the Amidala crime family.
Yeah. And don't forget the Bug's Life perspective as well.
So what I read when I read this guy's fan fiction is take Star Wars, but put Star Wars over Tokyo Drift, Kurosawa films, a Pixar movie, A Bug's Life, and The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
there's your Star Wars. Like, those are already done.
Yeah,
like,
they're already established franchises.
You can't mod a franchise and call it your own. like, it was lengthy, but once I started reading the review, I'm like, I can't stop reading this. Like, I have to share this. And it's like, you let George be free, and he gave us Phantom Menace, and then you took it all away. Like, I'm pretty sure George had creative freedom on New Hope.
Yeah, it's his movie.
It's his thing.
Yeah. They finally gave him free reign, like almost 22 years after A New Hope, when he made Phantom Menace.
Yeah, by the time he was involved with 3 others, you finally let him make the one he wanted. And then you took it away.
The one about space politics.
Right. Did you see that kid racing like NASCAR?
Sweet. Should have been a Tokyo Drift.
Man, he did one right thing when he had Greg Proops in the Star Wars universe.
Greg Proops.
And he took him out. So that's my outside insight.
Not enough improv comedy in the in the Star Wars verse.
There's not. So, what's your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from the Internet Movie Database, courtesy of Kev Doggy.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
I follow the work of Kev Doggy very closely.
He's a solid reviewer.
He is. He's got good stuff there. Very insightful.
Yeah, makes me think.
The 17th best film of all time? Maybe if you're 13 years old. This is a nice little adventure story. And quite frankly, if you think this is a great film, your nerd is showing.
You might want to put it away.
It's good, but I'm giving it a 3 just to balance out all the idiots. Get a life, people.
Oh, I love...
Yeah, go ahead.
I love it. We've talked about it before, that people think that their singular vote is going to skew IMDb's rating scale.
Well, in fact, I wasn't going to read this part, but he even says there's 24,000 10-star reviews. So his 3-star review will mathematically skew that.
Yeah. And I'm the only one that's telling you the truth.
Yeah. Just
like
Phantom.
Don't ever listen to those other 10,000 people that love this movie. I'm the one you should be reading. By the way, you are the one we're reading, Ken Doggy.
By the way, read my fan fiction.
Right. You can find me on Letterboxd as Dunn Baxter.
I'll finish my thing here. Get a life, people, or at least a girlfriend. It's actually more like a 6 or 7. George Lucas makes nice action figures.
Like,
that's what? It. I know it kind of went off the rails at the end there, but
yeah.
Get a life, people, or at least a girlfriend.
I feel like you wrote most of that review and then had to go to the bathroom and came back and was still just putting down things he'd thought of, but didn't add them to the coherency of what he'd written before. Oh boy!
Thanks, Kev Doggy.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, folks, it is time for our signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the film in question. In this case, 1980's The Empire Strikes Back. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
I love that this movie just jumps right into the action.
Yes.
It assumes you've seen A New Hope. You know who everybody is. We're not going to spend time on that. Ready, go. And it just goes. That's my first good. My second, I'm a really big fan of the details and the lighting and set design on this.
Yeah.
Everything looked good. We talked about it on Aliens as well, but it's just everything looked good. Every hallway was detailed and nuanced, and kudos to the creative team there. And my third, while my first good was about the beginning, my third good is about the end. This movie knows that it's part of a larger story, so it doesn't wrap up. There's no doubt, it just stops. And I'm fine with that because, as we know, and you could say the same with Lord of the Rings trilogy, bringing that up, that they know they're part of something. This is not a standalone movie with the threat of what if we don't get funding for a part 3? They just know, no, we're making part 2. We're going to stop it where it's at because we're coming back for another one. And I really like that about this, is that most movies, it bothers me if the ending's not solid and convincing, especially TV shows. If the end of a season isn't good, because they're expecting a next season, but that doesn't arrive, it really makes the season fall, or the whole series fall sour. Mm-hmm. But this movie knows it's got legs and it's not going to stop running, and I love that about it. Mm-hmm. What about you? What are your 3 goods?
My 3 goods, I'm going to start with just how Han outsmarts the Empire. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's outmaneuvering them. You know, he's using, asteroids to his benefit. You know, despite the danger he's putting himself and his crew in. It showcases this movie really is a Han showcase in a lot of ways. It's like, mm-hmm. yes, Luke's training the Force and all that, but like this movie is really about Han.
Yeah. And
it's him.
Well, he has to step up and carry things when Luke's away.
Yeah. I mean, it's him at his swashbuckler, kind of devil may care best, and it works so well in this movie. My second would be, I guess, just the relationship building amongst all the characters. Again, we had the great establishing stuff in the first one, but in this one, especially, I'm gonna mention Han again for 2 consecutive goods here. But just how he developed with Leia, even the backstory mm-hmm. with him and Lando. We see how Luke and Yoda come together, and it's good storytelling, it's good character development, and again, I think the story is really the strongest in this movie of all the Star Wars movies. And my last is that Vader be choking dudes.
Yeah,
I love like Vader was established as the big bad in the first one, but like he goes from being the big bad to being like unpredictable and just ruthless mm-hmm. in this movie.
Yeah, a little hot, like not outwardly hot-headed, but a little hot-headed. Like everybody feared Vader in the first one, but in this one you really get a sense why.
Yeah,
like.
So it just put Vader over the top as arguably the best film villain of all time. Exceptions being Big Ern McCracken from Kingpin.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We can't forget Big Ern.
Because no villain will ever top Big Ern McCracken.
No, I don't think so. And if you think one does,
keep going.
Yeah, if you think one does, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Oz, what are your 2 bads?
My first bad is, I guess, preface. Han's persona and my persona are nowhere near the same. Mm-hmm. So, the opportunity that he had when Leia announced her love for him, and he stayed Han through that, like, I know. And then, boom, like, you're frozen. We may never see you again. That's my first bad. And it's just, like, I'm okay that it didn't get romantic and sappy.
Yeah.
But, like, you owed her more than that.
Yeah.
Like, put yourself away for a moment.
Yeah.
You owed her more than that.
Yeah, well said.
And so, and my second one is, again, with emotions. I would say Vader gets a little emotional with Luke, with the whole I'm your father, mm-hmm. and search your feelings, come with me, we can overthrow the Emperor, like, I feel like he was really opening himself up to Luke, and then Luke falls, and Vader just kind of, like...
That really is a ways down there, isn't it?
He just went cold and emotionless again. Like
Vader hawks a loogie and spits it down.
He's just waiting to hear if it hits the bottom. Like, it's like, so it was odd that we see Mr. Stone get a little bit emotion, with his son. And then when his son literally plummets to what we believe is his death, Vader just kind of watches him fall. Yeah. Almost like, well, I got to get going, and
I got,
it's
like dinner in the oven.
I mean, even if it wasn't a vocal thing, a gasp, but even if it was just like a quick, like, reach, just something. Yeah. But he just literally, like, just leans forward and watches over the rail.
They should have had Vader like upright himself and just turn to the camera and put his hands out in like a. Oh wow!
I would have loved it.
And then freeze frames on him.
I would have loved it even more if they cut to Vader and there's just a tear rolling down his helmet.
Like someone just threw a bag full of garbage at him alongside the road.
Yeah, exactly. But
somehow
that was my second bad.
His helmet is able to cry from the outside.
I know. That's why I thought it was funny, is watching the tear roll outside of the helmet. But no, that was my second bad. It's just seeing I won't call it vulnerability as much as it was just, just opening up a bit. Like, he was trying to bridge and forge a relationship with his son, who then chose death over him, and Vader just... he's almost like foreshadowing, like looking like, ooh, that's not a bad idea, dropping somebody down a deep pit.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
I'm going to hold on for that one and see if that comes back to use in the future.
Well, in both of your...
tossing someone into a deep pit.
In both of your cases, you kind of referenced, I don't know, like one stoic man, one manly man, and like, just let your emotional guard down for a moment.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Don't quit trying to be hyper masculine.
Right, which also kind of like reverses and throws a little monkey wrench in things when you look at the prequel trilogy and the way Anakin reacts when he's first turned into Vader. Mm-hmm. When he finds out that, Padme is dead and is like we've seen Vader get emotional, thinking, and now here's a chance, like, hey, you've rekindled with your kid. Oh, well, whatever, so it's just, granted that prequel came after, so I mean, you can't go back and fix whatever, but it's like we've seen Vader be emotional, and now here's a chance where he's not, or he could be and he's not. So that's my second bad. What about you?
My two bads, and again, I'm being very nitpicky here. Like, one of the, I know when I was a kid, this was probably at the bottom of my list of the three of them, and that was simply because there's no space dogfights in this movie. Like, there's a little bit between like the Falcon and the TIE fighters, but like, there's no big battle of Yavin, like at the end of A New Hope. And there's no big Death Star 2 fight sequence there outside of Endor. And when I was a kid, I just had that sort of nostalgic, like, I want to see X-Wings and TIE fighters dogfight out there.
Right.
And, which I think is one of the reasons why I like the Snowspeeder AT-AT scene so much at the beginning, because that's the closest you really get to it.
That's about the closest you get, yeah.
But so
the rest of it's just a bunch of like space hide and seek.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So like, it's just, again, the kid in me wants to see a big space dog fight, and we didn't get that. Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
That's fair.
Yeah. My other one is just, I don't know. I'll just go with, I'll pick the low-hanging fruit, Luke and Leia's kiss. Like, you can't tell me Lucas hadn't plotted this stuff out. If he's going to film the first movie as episode 4, he clearly knew what was going to come before. So, like, you can't tell me he didn't have an idea what was going to come after. Unless he's just okay with hot sibling on sibling action,
Who knows? Yeah. But it's like, you're right. He knew they were twins.
Yeah.
We didn't, but he did.
So it's one of those, like, because you could chalk it up to, like, well, you didn't know at the time, but he did. He knew it.
He did.
Yeah.
And he still let it go.
Yeah. So those are my two bads, Az. What's your
my on Hoth at the beginning, if it was too cold for a living Tauntaun to survive, how would a dead Tauntaun's innards keep Luke warm? Like, it just didn't make sense, and especially for the whole night. And where did Han go? Like, but that's my If it was so cold that a living Tauntaun fell over dead, the insides of that Tauntaun that is now dead are not going to keep Luke warm throughout the night.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a spa treatment kind of thing.
Possibly. Hot springs, the inside of a Tauntaun is it's like aspen.
Instead of mud and cucumbers on your eyes, you just rub Tauntaun guts all over your face.
That's all you gotta do. It's like hot rocks. So what's your hot?
My is, and I kind of made a quick reference to this earlier. When they're in the belly of the space worm in the asteroid belt, they believe they are in deep space, in the vacuum of
Right.
space. And they step outside the Falcon to investigate these creatures, which, again, whatever, sci-fi. They're in deep space and they're wearing these like dinky little respirators, like, that has like a rubber band, like you put behind your head,
right.
and that's it. Like there's nothing protecting them from the vacuum of space. And again, I'm being a little over the top and silly here because yes, this is fiction. However, it's like it's not exactly how space works.
No. But I've never been to space. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's different.
Yeah, and I don't know. Have there been any Earth-based space programs that have sent a human to space without the protective gear, just to see how they would handle? Or were we overly cautious when we send them up there, assuming things will go bad? Maybe they can. Maybe. But I don't know if anyone's tried.
Well, I mean, it's at least nothing that's been revealed to the public. So, I mean, I think where you're getting at, Oz, is the next time we send astronauts up into space for scientific reasons, and if nothing else, just to rule out what's kind of demonstrated here, send them up. Just send them up in their civvy. Send them up, without spacesuits.
Send a death row inmate.
Yeah, it'd be a great last view.
What do you want? Tang? That's your final meal is Tang and freeze-dried ice cream. Deal. We're going to send you to space. and just to test our theory of how long can a person survive in space without protective measures?
Yeah.
2 birds, right?
Yeah, we'll give
already on death row.
We'll give them one of those like 3M respirators that they were wearing.
Yeah, like
with like the popple tube coming out for the air.
Yeah, like you're going to be sentenced to death. So let this be in the name of science.
Yeah, just go to space without a spacesuit.
Right.
You'll be
fine. We'll send you up in a spacesuit. We want you to enjoy the ride, but once you get there, just go on out. And
you might want to hold your breath first.
Right, that's fine. That's another double science. How long could a human hold their breath in space before they succumb to space? For science.
Maybe you'll catch a little bit of oxygen that's just kind of floating around out there.
Yeah, for science.
For science.
So.
Well, that's 1980s. The Empire Strikes Back, and that wraps up this month. That wraps up.
It does.
Sequel's better than the originals.
It does, and we come back next month with our first. And we're looking at this is episode 65. 60, episode 65.
Wow.
Episode 66 will be the first rehash.
Yes.
Next month will be the first rehash of a theme. We are revisiting a previous theme, and I see this becoming a current revisit.
Yes, I think this will be an annual thing.
With it being February, and because of the love and support from our lovely spouses, we are going to revisit last February's theme of Wives' Choice Month by having another month of Wives' Choice. So,
Wives' Choice,
last year, Wives' Choice was all romantic movies,
or at least loosely defined as romantic movies.
Yeah, your romantic movies like Bodyguard, Legends of the Fall, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Secretary.
Because, as we said before, my wife, the sociopath.
Right. This year, Wives' Choice was a little more open-ended. Just what do you want to watch? Doesn't have to be romance. So we will be back next week with my wife's choice for her first pick of next month. We will be watching the Sandra Bullock, Harry Connick Jr. movie, Hope Floats, a movie I have not seen before.
I have not seen it either. I'm assuming that this movie is set like on a stranded island in the middle of the Pacific.
Now, see, I assumed this took place in like a soda bar, and Sandra Bullock was like she was the She was making.
She's making milkshakes.
Floats.
She's got one of those like pink outfits with the white trim and the little white paper hat on top.
And she was just making floats. It's just 2 scoops of ice cream, some root beer, and a little bit of Hope.
Yeah.
These are Hope floats
with a big bendy straw in it.
Yeah, that's right. You get 2 straws for you and your lady friend.
Everyone's wearing poodle skirts.
Somehow, for some reason, the Candyman from Willy Wonka's there. Yeah. Like, he's a soda jerk. He can do it. And Harry Connick Jr. has a daughter named Hope that's gone missing. And Sandra Bullock is the one responsible for the abduction of that child, as she just scoops some of her guts into each ice cream sundae. Have a little Hope float, everybody.
That took an odd turn there.
I don't know why my wife loves it, but she does. Not to be confused with that other Sandra Bullock movie, 28 Days Later, where she wakes up in London and it's been overrun by rage zombies. It's a sequel to her previous movie where she was an alcoholic.
Yeah. 28 days and 28 days later. Yep.
Right. It's a straight sequel.
Yep. It leads right into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a month later.
Yeah, it picks right up 28 days later.
Sandra Bullock teams up with Cillian Murphy and they fight rage zombies.
Yep.
As they find love. But no, we'll be back next week with Hope Floats to kick off Wives' Choice Month. Social media wise, you guys know where to find us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Of course, we've mentioned we mentioned late that we are on Patreon.
Why don't we give our patrons one more shout out here? Yeah.
So thank you again, Don S., Melissa L., Aaron A., and Mandy K. for your constant and recurring patronage. There is a link down below if you'd like to join and hear your name shouted through your speakers, not from the rooftops. We film this in the comfort of our homes.
I actually am on my rooftop right now.
You have a nice setup.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the basement with Kira Sean. She's constantly waiting to come at me with a trowel. So, little girl from Night of the Living Dead back here that would go to all the horror conventions with the shovel, like the hand shovels, and sign them all for you.
Sign people's
$75. But no, that's it for this week. Hope Floats next week. Social media, drop anything you'd like down in the comments. We'd love to hear what you thought about our recent episodes. Make sure you like, subscribe, and blah, blah, blah. The things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Ignore all that if you're listening to us on the podcast app. But for another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you guys next week.